We have got our next set of Summer of Chel Master Set player items in Hockey Ultimate Team, with the latest release of Andrei Kuzmenko from the Vancouver Canucks, Brendan Carlo from the Boston Bruins, and Joel Eriksson Ek from the Minnesota Wild. Now, starting off with the new Master Set player items, we finally have a right-handed defenseman card among one of the 12 Master Set players from the Summer of Chel event. And while they did wait essentially 4 weeks to release a right-handed defenseman, we got one of the best ones that we're going to have in the entire game. Brendan Carlo cards are always fantastic. When you think back to NHL 22's Hockey Roots event, the international inspired event, his 92 overall MSP was one of the best cards for a few months. Obviously, nothing really changes here. He's 6'6", 218. That is among the best size that you will find in the game. He also comes with gold shutdown in reverse, stick 'em up, no contest, ice pack, and truculence. So he checks off all the boxes of things that you want in an endgame defenseman. If you are going to spend the max amount to actually acquire the card for the rest of the game, you can set it and forget it. He's got truculence, he's got stick 'em up, and again, I've talked about stick 'em up being kind of a polarizing ability throughout the year. I think on the bigger defensemen, anyone over 6'1", 6'2", it has a lot more usefulness than someone that's a little bit shorter. And then if you want to just go full on gold shutdown, which is kind of a combination of both, however, it doesn't automatically trigger in the defensive zone, you can go ahead and do that. He has 99s across the board. I really hope going into next year, nothing against Brendan Carlo, but I would love for them to find a way to make the smaller cards useful throughout the year. And there really is no way to do that until they switch to a player build style of content where a 99 overall defensive defenseman can have 99 overall attributes, but only in certain set categories, like let's say body checking or defensive awareness. However, his shot can be capped at like 80 overall. I think until they find a way to add builds and make them actually useful in game, it's just going to be more of the same year over year, because progression in Hockey Ultimate Team impacts the game so negatively, because once all attributes get up to 99, you're not playing the same game anymore. However, if you are still playing and you're looking for one of the best right-handed defensemen in the game, Brendan Carlo is going to be it. Now, just like Brendan Carlo, Eriksson Ek cards are extremely good as well. 6'3", 207, a 99 overall left-handed center. And obviously, if he's got 99 on the face-off dot, he can play anywhere in your lineup, which gives you lineup flexibility. He can play wing or center, doesn't matter. This one comes with gold quick draw, silver unstoppable force, big tipper, truculence, close quarters, and third eye. The only ability that is pointless is third eye on this card. Everything else does have usefulness. Big tipper is legitimately just for fun more than anything else, but all the other attributes and abilities are fantastic. So if you are still looking for a centerman card that you can use for the remainder of the year and just kind of set it and forget it, Joel Eriksson Ek checks that box off. I think a lot of people, when it comes to quick draw, they think that as the year goes along, the face-off attribute getting the 99 quick draw means less. Quick draw is an animation-based ability, guys. I've talked about this quite a bit throughout the year, and actually on Reddit as well. Just recently, someone was asking, what are the best abilities late game compared to the early game? And the early game X-Factor abilities, they tend to get a big boost from attribute-based X-Factor abilities. So something like Elite Edges, which jacks up your agility rating. Early on, when everyone's got really low agility, having Elite Edges is such an advantage because you can keep your speed in the corners. Not to say that it's useless at the end of the year, but it just doesn't have the same impact as something like Unstoppable Force does, which allows you to stop the stumble animation, which is massive. Again, an animation ability is going to always have more impactfulness as the game goes along when everyone's attributes get boosted up to 99. Quick Draw is an animation-based ability. It does help out your face-off rating, yes. But if you were to go in and look, your player will actually draw his stick back faster with gold quick draw on, which is why I always like having one player on my team that has gold quick draw, so that if I'm in my defensive zone and I know I need to win a face-off, maybe late in the game, it's always something nice to have. But I can understand why as the game goes along, it's a little bit less exciting. This still is one of the best cards, the 99 Joel Eriksson Ek. And lastly, we've got the 99 Andrei Kuzmenko, one of the most exciting first-year players in the NHL this year. 5'11", 194, so obviously size is an issue at this stage of the game, but the only reason you should be caring about that is if you are trying to play this game at a very competitive level. For the love of God, if you've listened to me this year, more than ever, just use your favorite players. But again, if this is something that you really really are passionate about and you want to try to have the best competitive team, Kuzmenko is obviously going to struggle a little bit because of the size compared to other players. Gold close quarters is amazing. Silver unstoppable force, amazing. The rest of his abilities are pretty lame in that sense, but nonetheless, we finally get an exciting first-year player card, and no longer do you have to use his headless team of the season or whatever other card because he finally has some cool card art. Speaking of, I want to talk about going into NHL 24 and just trying to fixing some of the glaring issues that are happening in 23, and I'd love your feedback on them. I would love a first-year player event where early on in the year, all of the players get master set items and maybe even treat them like team of the season, or maybe they're fantasy cards, who knows, but they need card art. This year, they went and they just said, you know what, we're going to put the rookies that we don't have the headshots to. And again, I want to explain for anyone that doesn't know that if you are unaware, the cards that do not have headshots in game, simply because the teams don't send it to EA early on in the year because they don't have rights to them. So a lot of the US players, you'll see a lot of drafted players that go very high in the draft, Owen Power for one, that are coming out of college. They don't have the player rights to actually use them in game. Now, once they get them, if it happens halfway through the year, a card gets called up. I'll give you a perfect example going into next year. Logan Cooley is going to be that. In my opinion, probably the second best prospect in the entire league behind Connor Bedard this year. Logan Cooley is going to play in the NHL this year. He is going to get a Hockey Ultimate Team card. And if it is a no headshot base card or whatever again, like, it's just unacceptable. I can appreciate the fact that this year they're like, you know what, we want to at least allow players to use the player likeness in game, but it's just lame for a billion-dollar company to not find a workaround for this. So, one of the workarounds that happened actually at the first iteration of the Summer of Chel event way back in NHL 21, I believe, when Kaprizov was one of the most asked for cards. They didn't have the player rights to him because he came over from Russia. What they did was they made a master set player for him because you don't need his headshot if you're going to use actual card art that you had graphically designed, which is fantastic. It's always great to see those, and it's a nice workaround for EA. At the beginning of the year, you know who the highly touted prospects that are going to stick around in the NHL that you don't have headshots for. And if we go the headshot route again and it's just blank, man, you know, I would put a priority, in my opinion, on making those cards master set players early on in the year so that we avoid all of this nonsense. And then anytime, you know, something crazy happens, they get a prime time, a milestone, anything like that, just have the card upgrade. It'd be an awesome way for everyone to follow along with some of the youngest players in the league. And you don't have to wait until January whenever they do the Young Guns event. And a lot of the reason why they do the Young Guns event later on in the year is so that they have some time to actually put the headshot, if they get it from the team, into the game. So that is one thing that I hope to see. And it reminded me specifically because of Kuzmenko's card. Now, as NHL 23 is winding down, if you haven't been following on my Twitch channel, or if you've been waiting for some other HUT videos to come out, whether it be no money spent, things like that, I am more than likely done Hockey Ultimate Team for the year this season, guys. I will probably make one more no money spent video to kind of close things up, but this year's game, in terms of the games that have been released where I've been a full-time content creator, lost me the earliest. And I know that's kind of a meme, and they say that about every single game, but I see things in the background because as a game changer or design, whatever the hell they're calling us now, you know, and I kind of get to see both landscapes, and there was a lot of change at the top end from the producer level, and I don't think they got everything they wanted clearly into the game last year, and it really suffered. The game was absolutely brutal. There was a lot of bugs that should not have been in the launch of the game. I mean, if you go back, think about the strategy glitch, you know, squad battles having the black screen where you had to do this weird thing to not lose out on squad battles points. Your power play, you putting your wingers on the draw even though they're listed as centers, like, it goes on, and that's really unacceptable. I can get that, you know, they didn't put effort into, or not effort, but resources into making new game modes and things like that. That's time intensive, sure. The bug fix is really unacceptable if we're paying full price for a game, in my opinion. So I am excited for 24 because this year was the oddest in the sense, again, changeover at the top. The philosophy was 23 is 23. I don't want to call it a burn year, but it's looking like that's what it was. And they put all of their focus from the launch of 23 into 24. I don't know if 24 is going to be a great. I am very pessimistic because, well, I've been playing this game as a full-time job for far too long, and that's just really, that happens. It's a video game that is not meant to be played as much as I play it, as much as we all play it. However, I am fairly confident that it will be the biggest year-over-year change. Now, listen, I mean, change, okay? I didn't say it was going to be the greatest game. It will be the biggest difference in gameplay or whatever from 23 to 24 than we've had in maybe a decade. And that's simply because the philosophy from the development team was 23 is 23. We're going to start on 24 right from the get-go. And if 24 is bad, and from a gameplay standpoint, if it's not fresh, if there's not a lot of all the things that we hate about 23, the quick wrap, all that kind of stuff, if that is not fixed, I really have no hope for the franchise, but I will wait and see what 24 plays like. So I think over the next coming week, guys, I'm going to continue my GM Connected series. I have loved playing this. If you haven't been watching on Twitch, basically what we do is we had 32 managers do a 23-round draft, fantasy draft, and now they're controlling teams. We watch CPU versus CPU, and however, I don't understand it. It's hilarious. It's so much fun, and I got a custom-made Stanley Cup that I will unveil in my background, and the winner that wins is going to get a free copy of 24, as well as their name engraved on the Stanley Cup in the background, and it's something I'm definitely going to do in 24 as well. And again, if you haven't watched the GM Connected series, check it out on YouTube or watch it every day on stream, because that's really what my focus is going to be. Guys, if you're still watching my content right now, I love you. I will keep updating you on any of the new big cards that come out in Hockey Ultimate Team, as well as all the news. It is almost news season. I haven't talked a lot about it because I don't want to release a video where it's like, last year we got the beta on this date, so maybe it's this date, and we're just theory crafting, because I think, well, that really doesn't give you any info. I'm going to wait and until we get some actual knowledge and news about when you guys can expect 24. I would anticipate the middle of August. That's really when, it's when we usually first start getting news. So, but I have no idea. We'll wait and see. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.